Hoping this works.
Yeah. I'm on Zoom because one of my phone kept going off. I don't know why. I was trying to read the script and do it, but you hadn't seen it all.
I think I got it.
It's like blanking up there. I'm like, fuck, come on, let's go ahead and do it. I haven't run a group in like 2 weeks. I just realized that. Yeah. So I definitely read through it.
Oh, that was just recorded.
Cool.
It's not good, bro.
Like I know what I say, but I was trying to.
You need to get back on script.
Yeah.
That's what you need to say. Because if you knew, you'd be on script, it'd be like clockwork. As soon as you get up there, it'd be like riding a bike.
Yeah.
It'd be like your demo.
Yeah.
You're not on script, and that's what's hurting your show. You're way too good to be getting a 40% show to turn. So we just need to get you back on script. Just start reading it for the next couple times. But I think we got it recorded now. So let's tell them to go to my YouTube. Just tell them to go to my YouTube page, and we should be good. Hello, hello. Go to my.
Did you name it already? Is it like TLA prep?
Mm-hmm. Let me call. I'll call Jordan right now. See if she's on. Hold on one second. Before we do that, let me make sure this works. That I'm not having to do it on a conference call. Hello, 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 hello. No, my phone just died. Sweet. So it's working on YouTube? Okay. Cool.
So you gonna use this one?
Yep. Let's just tell people to go to YouTube. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's grab the crew. Yo, yo. Yo, yo. All right, well, guys, we'll go ahead and get rolling. Sorry for the delay in trying to get this thing uploaded. It was a good reminder about the importance of being, I guess, prepared. With Google Hangouts dying on September 12th, I was not I was not aware that because it died on September 12th that YouTube Live was going to be as complex and pain in the butt as it has been in order to get this thing going. So, but the good news is that by the time we get together for next Wednesday and we broadcast out, hopefully the quality is a little bit stronger, and I've got a clearer direction as to how we're going to get these things broadcasted out. So. We have a kind of a temporary solution for now, which is that we've got this thing broadcasting live just directly through YouTube, through a broadcast player and a bunch of other stuff. I think people probably use this as they're playing video games and So hopefully, hopefully this thing works well, and if it does and the quality's good, we'll keep using it, and if not, we'll switch around and go through something else. Perhaps we'll use Skype for Business or GoToMeeting or another one of those online video conferencers. So um, today's kind of leadership lesson is going to be on the importance of balancing logic and emotion. Okay, and and we talked about with CVI what ends up happening when you go to your worst place. For example, if you're a high innovator, your worst place is going to be interrogation. If you're high merchant, your worst place is going to be manipulation. If you're high builder, it's going to be kind of bullying, right, and intimidation. And then if you're a high banker, it's going to be kind of being aloof, like, oh, I don't know, and just kind of being flippant almost towards things. So the goal is to try to how do you eliminate that? And what I found is that once you're in a high position of emotion, it very quickly goes to there. Okay, so when emotions are high, when things get heated, I'll give you just a couple quick examples. As I was trying to get this thing set up, this broadcaster, we had a few people show up a little bit late, and I knew I was upset, and so I knew, I was just, in an effort not to try to, blast off and start interrogating people. Okay, why are you late? Why are you late? Why are you late? And just keep making it worse and worse and worse, making people feel worse and worse and worse. I said, you know what? I'm going to tell you that I'm frustrated because of this, and I'm probably not going to be my best place. So it's best just to move, right? And and we'll reconvene. So, but when emotions are high, logic tends to be low. You're and it is an inverse relationship, right? So whenever you're in a position of conflict, um, or the opposite, right? When you're in a position of things just kind of are so exciting, your logic tends to be low too, right? I'm sure none of you guys have ever done this where you've been hanging out, you're excited, emotions are running high, so you decide to go out and do something crazy, right? Maybe it's getting a tattoo, maybe it's getting some sort of piercing, maybe it's getting married in a chapel in Las Vegas, right? Whatever. I'm not saying any of you guys have done this, but or any of you guys on this video, but when emotions are high, when energy is high, logic tends to be low. So it's important that you kind of address that and be self-aware to know that if you start to feel yourself getting high emotions, that you're not going to give your very best answer to things, and it's important, especially if you're in a relationship with a friend, or you're hanging with your buddies. Just understand that you're going to not be the best version of yourself logically when things are kind of amped up, right? There's a reason why in spring break people do just ridiculous things, right? And it's not because of just the alcohol. It's because there's an energy, there's an excitement there, so people go forth with things they normally wouldn't do. You see it at parties and festivals, and it's just when things are high energy, emotions start to get high, logic tends to be a little bit lower. So just making sure that you analyze yourself when that happens. And I found in our business, it happens a lot too. When you get frustrated because a customer cancels on you or reschedules, it's very easy to kind of be emotional in that moment because it didn't go the way that you wanted. Your demos didn't go the way that you wanted. Maybe you're not getting as many appointments as you want, and so then your logic is so low at that point, right? It's easy to say, "Oh, I give up," right? I quit. Right? I'm quitting this job. This job is stupid because you had something bad happen, and you negate all the positives that have happened to you because of the job in the process, right? It's kind of like when you're in an argument with a significant other, right? You ever done this? Hopefully not, but you're in an argument, you're like, oh well, then just screw it. I'm over, right? Over something very little, and it's just because you're getting so emotional and heated, that becomes your illogical answer is just to blow it all off, right? When if you think about it logically, you're like, you know what, we're having an argument, no big deal, right? Not the end of the world. Okay. So, so understanding the concept of logic and emotion is very key. And it's important that before you make any drastic decisions or commitments, you make sure you're doing it from a position of low emotion, where emotion's been kind of reduced. And that way, when things are in the heat of the moment, try not to sign up and commit to something that's going to drastically change your life. Okay, that's something that I think is also big, and especially when it comes to giving up something. When you're committing to something new, that's not necessarily a bad thing because you got to keep doing something new further and further. But when you give up something that's important to you in an emotional state, it's important that you try to avoid making any firm commitments on that, right? Whether it's breaking up with a friend or more, whether it be giving up something that's important to you. um, you know Maybe it's school in your major, right? You're just so frustrated with a class, you just want to give up on that major and switch majors. Well, make sure that you're making it from the right place, not just in that heat of a moment and fully committing. So that's something that's important. Another thing that's important to do when knowing that those are the cases, enlist somebody who's kind of an emotional accountability partner, right? So somebody that you can go to and ask, hey, I made this decision. Do you think this was, knowing me, do you think this was a good call? Right? Finding somebody. It could be a family member. It could be your district manager. It could be your significant other. But having some sort of an emotional accountability partner that knows you, knows your values, knows what's important to you, and whenever you do make a decision, just kind of run it by them. You know, Another good thing that you can do is enlist what I call a financial accountability partner. Because again, when things are hot, excited, emotions are running, it's easy just to say, you know what, let's do it, right? It's sometimes it's maybe it's ordering a round of shots, right? Maybe it's deciding on a whim to go skydiving, right? Or to purchase some, outfit, right? Or some impulse buy. And so, what I'm going to ask that you do is for the purposes of this Leadership Academy, use your district manager or me, and to have $100 rule, meaning do not spend $100 without reaching out to me first, right? Or before reaching out to your district manager first. The reason I think that's so important is for you guys as young professionals. You go out and you sell. You make a lot of money. It's easy. You get that easy money kind of fixation where it's like, hey, I could spend $300 today. It's no big deal. All I got to do is go sell $1,000 tomorrow. No big deal. And so it's important that you have some sort of barrier system. It may be different for every one of you, but what I like to do for our TLA members is $100. Okay, so before you spend $100, you need to run it by me. Okay, it's just like, hey, I'm thinking about buying this. This is a good idea. And just making that part of your program is good, because a lot of times if you run it by me, I'm going to say, yeah, that's fine. There's going to be a lot of those things that you need to get that are going to cost you $100 or so. And like, for example, somebody's like, yeah, I spent $100 on my cell phone bill. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. You need to have your cell phone. But if you just get in the habit of always doing that, you're going to check yourself before you make a lot of impulse buys that you don't have to have or you don't need. I did this a few years ago with a manager of mine by the name of Chris Reen. He was a freshman at UGA at the time. I was going through management training for the first time, and it's terrible as money. His concept of money was, hey, so long as I've got $1,000 in my bank account, I'm great. But anything above that, I could just blow. Right? It was like that's what his move was, right? So as long as he had that in, it was just like anything above that was like getting spent, And he only stressed out if he got below 1,000. I'm like, well, dude, that's a novel concept for an 18-year-old, but eventually, you're going to have bills that are way more than $1,000 that are going to come up out of nowhere that you're going to need to be able to pay. Maybe it's a car accident, maybe an AC unit goes out, maybe um, you have to you have to fix something around your home. A lot of those things cost over $1,000. So we started instilling this $100 rule for him, and it was amazing because there'd be things like, hey, I want to buy a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses. They're $150. And a lot of times I'd say, hey, you don't need to be buying that right now. Or I would say something along the lines of, okay, well, how much are you planning on selling this week normally? Okay, if you weren't going to buy those Ray-Ban sunglasses, how much are you going to sell? Okay, cool. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you sell enough to cover the Ray-Bans above and beyond that? So let's say you want to sell $1,000. Okay. Well, if he's at 30%, he needs to sell 500 to be able to make $150. So I said, okay, well, instead of selling 1,000, so you need to go out and sell 1,500, so you could do that. Okay, and so that became the process. Then eventually it became, hey, he had a lot of money saved. So then it became, okay, if you want to buy something for yourself, you need to sell twice what you need in order to be able to pay for it. So, for example, if he wants to buy something that's $100, or 100, let's just use $150 again, right? Instead of selling 500, he can sell 1,000. Just so he's always got double, right? So he's saving what he's buying. Okay? I started doing that when I was a district manager. Anytime I would buy something that was a non-essential, and honestly, I need to get back in doing that because I got away from doing it for the last couple of years. And so I need, this is kind of a lesson for myself. But anytime I'm going to spend money on something that's non-essential, I need to in turn invest that same amount. Okay? So for example, if I go out and I buy $100 pair of shoes, well, I need to take $100, move that from my checking into an investment account. So at the same time, I'm investing whatever I'm spending, right? And it's just kind of a habit to get into. I'm not saying you guys are at that point yet. It's kind of a smart place. It's funny, I was able to save, $50,000, that year extra, which probably says some bad things about what I was buying. But you just get the idea, right? I was like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, right? And so I felt really good about spending money because I was also saving that much every time. And so it kind of became a bad thing for a while there. So like, I need to go do this. If I save that, that's fine. But it is a good concept to have an accountability partner for your financials as well. So having an emotional accountability partner, having a financial accountability partner, and then just reminding yourself of the importance of that when emotions are high, logic tends to be low. Okay, and it's when you're in your highest emotionally that logic is kind of haywire, and at its very 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 peak, it can lead to some incredible experiences where you'll never do that again, but it's amazing to look back upon. But at its worst, that's when you tend to give up things that quite honestly have meant a lot to you and can do a lot of great for you. So in our business specifically, when you're dealing with representatives, it's important to remind them of that too. When you're doing PDI, it's like, hey, so you had a bad appointment. It doesn't mean that you're not good for the job. It doesn't mean that you suck as a sales rep. That's one thing I'll hear. I'm just not good at sales. Why? Because you had a no sale? If that lady had bought 10 grand because she wanted Cutco and knew about it, doesn't mean you're an amazing sales rep. It means you had a good customer. It means, you had a bad customer. So being able to have that thought enter in and work with your representatives is important too, and it's important to remind them of that on PDI too. The next little leadership topic I want to discuss is getting yourself through D2 and situational leadership. We talked about situational leadership, the importance of understanding and having self-awareness of where you are in the process, and I think most people are probably blasting past D1 and are firmly in D2, and everybody's in a different place probably with regards to D2, but you maybe just be kind of tipping in, right, getting that little big toe, or not little big toe, but big toe or little pinky toe in the water, so to speak, of D2. Some of you guys are like drowning in the middle of D2, and it goes through waves, okay? It goes through challenges, and so as a reminder, this is what you're experiencing probably if you're in D2. Being overwhelmed, confused, demotivated, demoralized, frustrated, disillusioned, discouraged, inconsistent, right? And if that's what you're experiencing, that's totally normal, unfortunately, at this stage in Leadership Academy. It's totally normal at this stage in the year. It just kind of is where it is. Because what's happening is you're starting to have low to some confidence, and but you're getting better. You're starting to learn more about how to manage, how to lead, how to be self-directed, and your enthusiasm and commitment level is probably waning big time. That happens. This is very, very normal during this stage of personal growth. This is that time when you start a new workout routine, and the first time you start a new workout routine, you're excited, right? This is so cool. You're getting like gym clothes for it and everything else. This is that second, third, fourth day when you're sore all over, and you really don't want to wake up and go back to the gym because you're just sore. Or you're starting that diet and you're realizing that you're really hungry. This is that stage, right? You're starting to realize all the things that you don't know in management, in general. Okay, this is kind of where you're at, where you got that low to some confidence. They call it conscious incompetence, meaning you're aware of all the things that you need to continue to do. You're aware of all the things that you need to learn that you don't know. And here's what you need in this stage. You need to be involved, heavily involved, in clarifying your goals and your action steps. Okay? Which means that you need to have a coach. You need to sit down with your district manager and work through that. You need perspective on what you're learning. You need to be reminding yourself of all the things that you've learned. And what's crazy is if you're in Leadership Academy here and now, right now, you have learned more just by going to the prep, doing the 5 love language test, and doing the CVI Core Values Index test. You've learned more about yourself than many of your significant others and significant members in your life have learned. It's funny. Talk to your mom, talk to your dad, talk to your significant other about just the simple concept of, hey, what's your love language? And you'll be amazed at how little they even yeah, I've heard of that test. Isn't that for like being in a relationship with somebody? And the answer is yes, it can be. However, it's also just about how you feel gratitude and appreciation. It's got powerful implications in the business world, and you guys have learned that about yourself. You learned why you respond certain ways. If you're starting to dig into this core value index, you realize why you go to certain places in times of strain and stress. You start to learn what you value. If you find that out about other people in your life, you can find out what they value and be able to serve that value and honor their core values. Okay? That's a powerful tool in relationship building. You guys have learned that since really less than a month. I mean, if you think about it, a month ago, we were sitting, getting ready to go to the lake, or we were already at the lake, or some of you guys were probably asleep at the lake house already. But this has all happened in the last 4 weeks. It's crazy to think about all that you've learned. You've started to learn how to interview. Some of you guys have actually run interviews, which friggin' ridiculous. That's crazy. And you're starting to learn that process of how to recruit, which I think is pretty awesome. You're learning core skills that you're going to need and be able to carry with you forever. And this has all happened in the last 4 weeks. I think it is important that you give yourself the ability to screw up. You're not going to be perfect, and I think it's important that you know that. Now, it doesn't mean that you use that as a crutch, right? And unfortunately, if you're in my pilot office, it doesn't mean I'm going to let you continue to screw up. And I wouldn't be a good manager if I just said, oh yeah, just keep screwing up. But once you're going to screw up, and it's okay though. I mean, it's so long as it's an error made not on effort, but on talent. skills. It's okay to make an aggressive mistake and have your heart in the right place. As long as you're operating from your heart being in the right place, as long as it's not a laziness thing, then it's okay to make mistakes. You're going to screw things up. You also need to, if you're in D2, need to make sure that you're figuring out and reminding yourself of the whys of certain things, okay? The whys behind everything. Constantly looking for and asking yourself the why. Why does this matter? Why is what is the objective rather of each thing that I'm doing? For example, if you're sending out Facebook messages, what is the objective of sending out Facebook messages? Well, they're trying a quality pool of applicants for your office currently, but then if you end up running your own office, knowing how to do that is critical towards building an organization and in working out the kinks now when the stakes aren't quite as high is pretty big. I had a conversation with a TLA member not too long ago, but it's important to screw up when it's on somebody else's dime, right? For example, if you're working in your local district manager's office, you screw up an interview figuring that out. That's a lot better than running an office and going out and it being your budget that's getting screwed up, right? When you're having to pay the rent for the office and you're having to cut the receptionist paychecks and you're screwing up interviews, then that's not so good. So screw it up and learn the process when the risk is not as big, right? You mess up an interview, you make an aggressive mistake, who cares? I know it's kind of weird me telling you to mess up my money, but that is the case, right? I mean, that's what you should do. It's better to do it that way than the opposite. And trust me, I'm not gonna let it continue to happen because, well, I care about my money. Another thing that you're going to need, and you need to remind your managers that you need to be heard. So getting time with your manager is important. By the way, if you're in D2 of a friendship, same thing, right? Same thing. You need to hear each other. Another thing, guys, if you're in D2, is continue building your skill set. Keep improving your skills. I was talking with the assistant team here recently. There's only 3 reasons why somebody's not operating at just an incredibly high level in sales in our business. It's either the customers they're seeing, it's their skill set, or it's the standards and expectations that they have for themselves. It's one of those 3. For our managers, it really is the same thing. It's the skills of running an office. It's, the it's the making sure that you've got the proper customers, so to speak, which in this case would be the proper representatives. Okay. And then the last one, okay, is just making sure that your standards and expectations are in the right place for your office. Do you expect to be a high-performing office manager? So some new DMs struggle with that because they don't view themselves as being capable or worthy of hanging with veteran organizations. Okay? So that's cool. Reassurance is also big. Okay? Somebody's in D2, they need reassurance. So they also need praise. So you've got a representative that's there. They need to be praised. What's going on, what progress is happening. You need to analyze successes and mistakes. So I will tell you that one of the big things that you can do is when you're in D2 is each function that you're doing in that role, look for wins and losses each time you do it. So if you're in D2 as a representative, on each demo that you did, what went well, what didn't go well, write it down. Tracking it. Okay? I was talking with another TLA member about their schedule, and I said, hey, in your planner, underneath of each demo, put the results. What happened on it so we can go back and look. So underneath each demo that you do, it's like, hey, what did I sell? How many recommendations did I get? And if you want to take it even a step further, you say, hey, what were the wins and losses from that demo? Boom, boom. And so that way you're constantly analyzing, getting better, and you're worried about your own personal development, not necessarily what the results of that individual demo were. And what will eventually happen is you'll see those things get better. You'll see your numbers start to get better. That's the old Hawthorne effect. Hawthorne effect states that stats analyzed are going to be stats improved. So if you're consciously looking at it and writing down wins and losses, analyzing it, then you're going to get better. Okay? So help in analyzing your successes and mistakes is big, and then sharing those with your accountability partners. So in each function that you're doing, look for wins, look for losses, and report back on it. If you're an assistant manager in an office, at the end of the day, report back to your district manager. Hey, here were the wins for the day. Here are the losses for the day. And it's funny because sometimes when you have a really bad day, it's tough to find a win. But if you say, I got to get something, then you put something down and you're like, you know what, it wasn't as bad a day as I thought it was. And maybe that win was just, I didn't spill anything on my shirt today. I did, that was a big move for me, man. I usually wear whatever I eat. I usually I get some sort of spill at some point. So maybe that's the win that you have. But analyze wins and losses. If you're in D2, that happens. And guys, just know that it's okay to be in D2. It's normal. It's not a bad thing, because what that means that you're going in the right direction. If you're just, I don't know of a single business owner that ever just is completely happy and unaware of what they don't know forever. It doesn't happen that way. You saw it real recently with FanDuel and DraftKings as they blew up, right? They were making money hand over fist. They were just excited. They started trying crazy things, right? I mean, they're getting all sorts of athletes and endorsers. I mean, they spent $750 million on advertising, right? Well, reality started setting in. They started to figure out all the crap they didn't know, and now they're a couple years in, they haven't made $1 technically. Their valuation is starting to plummet. It'll be a really interesting test to see as they continue to try to grow their businesses if they can get through D2 of this business into the next stage. Facebook dealt with that for a while. For a while, Facebook was just blowing up, where it was just everybody's doing it. It's like, man, this is like greatest thing ever. Then as they started to get to where they started getting public, people started talking about their privacy and that becoming an issue. Some of you guys remember that. Then it was, how does Facebook make any money? They can't make any money. All these reports came out. Their valuation was going down. They went public, and their stock got cut in half, right? And then now they're starting to get through, and they're starting to realize all the stuff they got to do, and they're working on growing their platform and getting better and bigger, and now it looks like they're going to turn the corner, which is awesome. But it happens. It's natural, and what'll start to happen. Here's what's great is on the other side. As you start to get past D2, what you're going to end up finding is you're going to find yourself being mostly self-directed. You'll find yourself going to meetings with your manager and having the answers, not from I know what I'm supposed to do, but it's like, no, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm excited about. Here's what I've already got down. Here's what I did. You're able to start reporting back. You're mostly self-directed and productive. You're capable. You are self-critical, but you're able to contribute, and you start to bring it. Now, what does end up happening is at times you'll get bored. And boredom does not mean that it's a bad thing. It means that you're starting to get shit. It means that you've got parts of your business, right, or parts of whatever you've got where you're starting to figure it out, and you're comfortable. Okay? And then eventually you get through to that next moment where everything just starts to roll. You're justifiably confident. You're inspiring other people with your actions and your efforts, and and that'll happen, right? So right now, as you're learning this new process, you're learning this program of running an organization. You're probably getting into that D2, but just keep fighting. You may be in D2 for the next 2 months. It happens. Okay, you're like, oh gosh, it's not good, right? It took you a month probably to get to D2, a couple weeks to get to D2 from SC3. So it's going to take you a month or two to get through that, and the mission is that if you keep growing, you keep learning, you're going to get to D3, and then you're going to get to D4. So um, the, uh, the instructional material today is going to be the last part of the group interview, and that is the product, the market, and the pay. Okay? And so just a couple of words on that. I'm not going to walk through that whole section because we'd have to move into the other room and we'd have to use a PowerPoint clicker and all that. But I do want to walk through just kind of just some overall themes. And in the group interview itself, it's natural as a newer recruiter to want to be super fired up about the product, right? Just like you are in a demo. But if anything, you got to downplay that part. Right? It's almost like, yeah, this stuff does this all the time. No, it's not apathetic. It's not bored. It's just complete confidence. Like, yep, that's what we do. Yep, it's a killer product. Okay, this is, of course, you want the job because this is an amazing product, but it's here. But it's not. You're not trying to sell them. If people feel like they're wanting to go out and just, they should be super excited. They're naturally going to get excited when they see it work, but you need to be a level above. It's almost like you're the opposite of what you do in a demo. Because in a demo, if you're at a 10, your customer's going to be at an 8. Okay? You want them to be at a 10, and you're at an 8 when it comes to enthusiasm for the product. So you want them to be a lot more excited about it than you are. Okay? It needs to be a confidence. It needs to be a simplicity too, where it's like, yes, anybody can explain this. That needs to be the thought process that's going through their head. This is an awesome product. I can easily show this. That needs to be communicated and conveyed throughout the product section. The other part that's really critical during the product section is showing them that we have a wide variety of options for different customers. Okay? So we got kind of the idea of something for everyone, and then get excited about the guarantee, and not excited about the guarantee for the customers, but excited about the guarantee for the confidence that it instills in the people on your team or in the representatives, basically. Another little tip that I'll give you guys for the product section is that's an easy time where you'll slip up and you'll say the word you a lot. Yeah, so you would show the customer this. You would show the customer this. It's important that you don't do that and instead say, so what a representative would do. Let me show you the difference. So when you've got, for example, the fisherman solution, it's easy to say, yeah, there's 4 features that make this thing so unique. It's got this, 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 and this, right? Now you're selling it. Instead, you say, so what our representatives would do is show the customers how it's got a line cutter on the back, right? It's got a sharpening stone on the back. It's got a line cutter in it, so you pull your line through. Then they show the customers how it opens up. So you're just describing what they would show, what the representatives would show the customers. Okay? So you just say, yes, so what our representatives would do is show this. Okay, that's an easy place to do that. Okay? When you're doing the rope cutting leather. So I'm just going to show you what our representatives show our customers. That's how you're leading in there. So I'm going to show you what you would show a customer. And if you ever slip and say the word you, just immediately follow it with, if you were accepted. Of course, that would be contingent upon your acceptance, right? So what you'd show a customer, if you were accepted, is this. That's just that little bit of push away there, that little bit of separation is critical during that product section. Okay? As you get into the market, letting the interviewees know that what we have is unique, and that was what presents the opportunity for this thing to be so successful. Okay? Also, they should know through this process, and this is a big one, of why getting recommendations and word of mouth advertising is the most natural and best way to show the product. So they need to know as they're getting through that they're going to be getting recommended to other clients through their current customers, and that's the most effective way of creating a success model for our business. And you want them to be answering those questions, so it's important that you're asking your sharpest people, the questions in there. So, that's big during the market. Now, during the pay, a critical part during the pay is to make sure that you're promoting the safety of the base. I've seen, there's been kind of a trend corporately to try to really promote like crazy the incentive part, because that's what we kind of do in the steroid interview. But I want to remind you that this is not, until you've got all PRs in your interview, unless they know a bunch of people that have already been successful with us, they don't really believe that everybody they're going to see is going to buy. They're still not there yet. So they need that safety of the base being promoted and the opportunity to make more. Not, hey, you're going to make a bunch because people are going to buy this stuff all the time. Like, that's more the steroid because they know their friend is ripping it and making a lot of money. There's a difference. There's a nuanced difference there. And in a group interview especially, you got to be very careful not to be promoting, because then it seems the too good to be true thought starts to trickle into their head if you're promoting big money, big money, big money. In fact, if you ever listen to a steroid interview, one of the things it says is, now guys, obviously, Andrew, I don't go over this in a normal interview, but because Doug and he's done so well with us, I feel more comfortable sharing this with you. And it even says the reason I don't go past 10,000 in a normal interview is because, a lot of people can't see themselves doing that. But since Doug and he's already done it, I feel more comfortable, sharing that with you. So that is something that is a nuanced difference between a steroid one-on-one interview and a group interview. So with the group interview, promotion of the security of the base, the opportunity to make more with the incentive. Okay, so that security is way more important than the exciting opportunity to make a lot. Okay? And your sharp kids will pick up on it. Sharp kids will be sitting there in the group interview like, screw the base, man. I want to make a lot more with that. Okay? But they'll feel comfortable telling mom and dad, hey, I've got this as a fallback. Okay? So no matter what happens, I at least got this. Okay? And then during the training, what's cool about the training is, and it's kind of weird, but during this training in the group interview, this is a good opportunity for you to build up the credibility. And the fact that it's a proven program, companies use it, companies like it, colleges like it. And once they get through the training, they need to feel a feeling of, you know what, I'm going to be shown the right path. This is where that second big reason why they showed a training enters in, which is I understand the job and I can do it, and I'm going to be successful at it. This training is what conveys that. Hey, you're going to be taken care of with training. We're going to show you step by step how to do what we do. Right, so that needs to happen, during that training section. So as you guys start to review and walk through this, you may have some questions. Make sure that you're sharing that each time you're reviewing it, each time you're role playing it. Write down those questions, share them. Right. This is again part of that learning process. Is you're going to have things that come up in the moment as you're doing it, as you're role playing it, as you're rehearsing it. So make sure that you're writing them down right then and there so you don't forget, and then follow up when you debrief with your manager. So I will promise, guys, by next week I'll have a cleaner version for video conferencing. I'll make sure I get that in, so that way we can start it right at 5 o'clock and have no glitches. But I do appreciate your time and do appreciate you being on, and debrief with your local district manager. But as a reminder, guys, same bat time, same bat channel next week. Thank you for your time. See ya.